Alright, today we're going to show you how to turn your old Samsung phone into a desktop replacement. So, I have a pretty busted up Samsung Galaxy Note 9. The screen's cracked, the back's cracked, and it's been retired. Still a great phone, everything still works on it. And now I've tasked it into a desktop replacement. Let me show you a picture of it. Ignore all those good looking guys there. That's me. You can see I got every peripheral you would need: computer speakers, a monitor, a mouse. You can use wireless if you want. I have one, I'm just not using it now. Got a wired keyboard. I also have a wireless keyboard. I also have a wired keyboard because it has a couple extra buttons that this multimedia Logitech keyboard doesn't have. This is the USB. This is the 9-port USB hub. These two ports are like 3 amp. You can charge stuff, heavy duty stuff off of them. These are just USB 3, regular. A 2 terabyte hard drive. The only thing I don't have is an optical drive, which I don't need anyway, so that's it for that. You can see I got a desktop. This is Samsung Dex. Now this phone's running Android 10 with Samsung UI 2.5, and I don't know the Dex version. You might be able to figure that out, but it's probably a little bit older than the Dex that runs on the new S22s and S23s or whatever they got out now, but it works perfectly fine. And the way you use it is pretty straightforward. All your apps are in here. I don't have all of them in there. Some of them are in folders, but for the most part, the ones I use the most are out here on the desktop. If you hit, I think F5, it brings up everything you're running and changes it to, you can see now I've went into Debian and Linux. So this is really the heart of what I'm doing. Dex is cool, but it's only really there to help me use Termux to run Debian. So Termux is what you would use. You would install the operating system in Termux and it will run exactly like desktop Linux. You just route into it with Dex compatible multi VNC is the name of the app. See this app? It's the only one that I know of that's Dex compatible. So if you're using like an app or a big tablet or your phone, you're going to be using touchscreen for a desktop operating system, and it's not going to work out very good. So I recommend you do it this way. That way you have 2 operating systems. Actually, I have Kali Linux on here too that's not running currently, but this is the way to go. Right, you got, full desktop operating system and you got Dex. So it's pretty neat. And you can do anything with it. You can even move, you can even open up files or open up folders that run on top from Android that run on top of your Linux. So you're in Linux, but you still want your Termux up. That's an Android app. There you go. Actually, any app will run on top of it. As soon as you click on anything in Debian, it goes away. You want it back, you just go down here and click on it. That's it. When you close out apps in Dex, they still kind of stay running. You can tell. Ba-boom, there's a lot. Get rid of them. This is a game that I wrote in Python. Let's close some of these out, get our memory back. We are running 2 operating systems. And this is a lot. Termux doesn't need to remain running at all. It can be closed out. And boom, we're back to Dex. Dex is also a really cool operating system. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can edit video or edit photos, videos, anything. It just turns your phone into a desktop. That's all it does. Everybody kind of knows what Dex is. I'm not going to go into explaining what it is, but The coolest thing about it is to be able to run any operating system on it via Termux, and also you wouldn't be able to get it on your display without multi-VNC. All of the peripherals work that I showed you a few minutes ago. The card reader works. It has a 5-in-1 card reader, memory stick, SD, compact flash. I can't remember what all it does, but it reads most cards. And you can also use an adapter if it doesn't use your card. So close that out. What else? Not much else about Dex. Dex is pretty straightforward. It's just your phone turned into a desktop computer. This, on the other hand, is much cooler. You can do anything you can do on a regular Linux. This is Debian Linux with XFCE4 desktop environment. But you can choose different desktop environments. You can use Windows managers like OpenBox or Awesome. You can use XFCE4. You can use LXDT and what's the other one? I can't remember. LXFE? Okay, I can tell you. Hold on, give me a second. You go in here, pick your Linux distribution. Let's go with Debian. Let's go with the desktop. These are the 3 that you can install. You can install other ones, but with Andronix, that's what you can install. And Andronix is the one I use, but there's also Linux, which has a couple other rarer operating systems in it. It used to have CentOS in it. Now it doesn't. I don't know what they did. They removed it, but Parrot. It used to have Tails too, and maybe that's in a different. You can only use KDE for the heavy desktop Windows managers. This is kind of a freeware app. You got to deal with that a little bit, but don't look like Tails is showing up. Anyway, you can run Tails on this. You can just about run any. This is a non-rooted phone, by the way. Let me get that out of the way. No rooting involved in this phone. You don't have to root it. There's Parrot. No, there's CentOS. So you can CentOS, whatever you call it. You can install that. You just have to click on the correct classification over here. It's under SSH. So somehow it lets you run with root permission in Linux. I've used it a couple times, but really, Andronix is what I use. And you can choose between any of their free operating systems. They get updated periodically. Or you can try out their modded OSs, which I've never done, and they're only like $2 or $3. But I don't know what they would do that I already can't do with my own operating system, and customizing it myself, downloading all the packages. This comes with Synaptic, it comes with Synaptic, just like Debian and Ubuntu always do. You got several terminals. You get the terminal emulator. It's got, so far, this is a pretty fresh install, so I haven't installed a whole lot. It's got mostly everything. It doesn't have Blender. It does run Blender. It's kind of slow because that's an advanced 3D modeling software, but the browsers are fast. Everything's pretty snappy. You can tell. Chrome works well here. Chromium, I should say. You can see all that nonsense. Get that out of there. Clear all those. Apparently I subscribed to Newsweek somehow on accident, and they want to give me a bunch of updates. Not sure why. Let's show you how to route in. Alright, so if you're trying to run, well, let's just do it. Let's kill it. And we just killed that operating system. You can tell, watch. I got these as bookmarks. Bam, see, there's nothing running. There's nothing there. So let's start Debian Linux from the scratch. I already got all these commands stored in here, so I'm not going to type them. I don't know, they might be far away. I might have to. All right, VNC server localhost will start the kernel. It'll say starting application. Once it does, you can export it to display 1. You can actually export it to display 2, but we'll just go with 1. And you can go ahead and route in now if you want. You'll see nothing but a term. Now you can hit start XFCE in here and it will start it. I don't do that. I'll start the actual desktop environment in here. I just think it's better. It'll give you a couple warnings, but it's just SSH stuff and I don't really understand it. Now when you route in, everything's already running and you don't have to start it in a term, the terminal emulator. If you do, you have to keep that open the entire time. If you close it out, it'll shut down XFCE4. So if it loads in the incorrect if it loads into the incorrect resolution, which it used to do to me, I have no idea why it doesn't do it anymore, but it must have got an update that auto detects this monitor at some point. I update it every day. If it loads into something that looks like this, just open up your terminal, any of them, QTerminal's fine, and you're going to use your xrandr dash size and then the resolution. Mine's 1920 x 1080, just like that. You hit that, it'll resize it to it. For some reason, mine's automatically doing it. It just started doing it one day about a week ago, so that's one less thing I got to mess with. But the command right there is xrandr-s for size, and then the resolution, whatever the resolution of your monitor is. It's pretty cool. So here I just start a new session, and you can tell this looks like kind of like what Termux looks like on your phone, except instead of having to type with your touch screen, you can type with your keyboard and use your mouse, and it's just a lot better. So every day I update the Linux operating system through Termux. Everything kind of runs through Termux and Android. You can play music in Linux and then click back over to Dex, and the music will continue to run because Android handles the audio for the most part, or Termux does, whatever. In Termux it's PKG, it uses the package. In Debian Linux it uses apt, so package search Debian. We'll just use that as an example. It's just like on your phone, except that you have the ability to copy and paste with and it brings up everything. You can see most of it's installed, but you can close these out. I don't like to have a bunch of programs running. And of course you can also get into Android settings. Every Android setting, including developer options, are available, including Dex, stuff that you can adjust with Dex. I mean, it's got everything. Windows animation, literally every possible setting. I keep that turned on because I do have to adjust certain things in there. Sometimes I go to here and defrag the memory. Got a gig of memory being used that we don't need. None of these apps need to be running. They'll probably start running as soon as I close it out, but it's just an obsessive compulsive thing that I do. And any questions, please leave them down there in the comments. Leave a like. Please subscribe. I only have a couple friends that are subscribed to me right now, but please help out if you can. Subscribe. I know you can't subscribe to every little thing, but if you can subscribe, at least leave a like. Please leave a comment. Tell your friends, your mom, your dad, your priest, and anybody else that might be able to benefit from this small amount of knowledge I'm putting out there. And I think we're at 15 minutes. That's long enough for a YouTube video. I wish you a great day. God bless.